as well as helping with general stability in your building structure, call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
The program presented or submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM and its affiliates.
It is Monday morning, and I'm Orlando Daniels with 91.1 The Boss. You are tuned in listening to Today's Entrepreneur, and I have a wonderful guest with me, Miss Ashley Rayner of Blue Skies Bookkeeping, and I'm excited about her coming on the show and sharing a little bit about her business and her service and all that she is able to help us. She helped me with some understanding that I had no knowledge of, because I've learned there's certain words you can use and you can't use. Come on, introduce yourself. Talk to our listeners, Miss Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley Rayner. I'm the owner of Blue Skies Bookkeeping, and I'm excited to be here.
Excited, nervous, which one? Excited, nervous, a little bit of both?
A little bit of both, yep.
Well, tell us about the difference, because I was asking you earlier, you know, when people hear bookkeeping or accounting or anything in that general area, help people to understand the difference between what you do versus an accountant and a CPA, correct?
Right.
So let's talk about you being a CFO. I learned that today.
I'm not officially a CFO. I try to do CFO services.
Okay.
I am actually studying to become an actual CFO. So I'm always in lessons and classes and trying to up my game as much as I possibly can. But basically a bookkeeper is the day-to-day kind of person. I'm the person that goes in and I make sure that everything is running the way that it's supposed to. Your money's going where it's supposed to. I help with bill pay. I help with payroll management, all of that kind of thing. And then you have your accountants, and those are the people who can actually file your taxes for you. And then you have your CPAs, and those people have actually been through excessive school and have a certification, which is why certified public accountant is why it's called that.
Okay, so hearing you say that you help people establish some kind of order, some kind of track record in relations to their spending and things of that nature, let me ask you this. The first thing that came to mind was they have to trust you,
right?
Because if I was to give you access to my financial spending, you would probably be like, hey, you need to consider, and some stuff I just probably wouldn't even want you to know that I'm spending my money on. but how important is when you have a client and they have to be one, honest and forthcoming, and they have to trust you with what they share, because in order for you to do your job effectively, they have to be open. Am I correct?
That is very correct. Yes, there has to be a good level of trust between both of us. I have to trust you, you have to trust me. We have to have a very close relationship, which I try to give to my clients.
So when you talk about establishing some order for someone's finances, because you know we spend our money, but many of us don't consider where we're spending it or how we're spending it. Having you on board helps people establish not just some kind of order, but it helps them to see their money at the end of the day. Am I correct? Or is it is this a process that is done daily, weekly, bi-weekly? How is it done?
It depends on your business. If you have what's called a micro business, where you're not doing you're not doing payroll or any of that kind of thing, I have a quarterly service, and that way I look at everything. I don't look maybe at it daily, but once a week I'll go in and I'll make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and that kind of thing. But then I have the bigger businesses where I really do have to go in every day and make sure payroll is correct, make sure the bills are being paid on time, make sure that the invoices have come in and are being paid, and that kind of thing. So it just depends.
Okay, so I was just thinking about, some of the things that I do. I have a lot of poor habits, things that I need to change and break. And I just did a teaching on my broadcast, Beyond the Sanctuary, on yesterday, that every season of life will require a different you. I am one of the guys who goes through the drive-through or go to dinner, and I don't keep the receipt. I just literally throw it away. And I know that I should do something different, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur myself, and God has me in so many different areas. But for me, it's like, you know, show up on my what is it? My statement from the bank, and that should be enough. But I really hear the importance of having someone like you to come alongside and help people establish where their money is going, because I can imagine I'm not the only person who's still trying to figure out, at the end of the day, I've worked all these hours, I don't see my money. What is a good practice?
Well, it's definitely important to keep track of your receipts. Now, you don't have to actually keep receipts anymore. There's several different awesome softwares out there that you can take a picture with your phone and it uploads into the software. You can throw that receipt away and it's still kept. So that's very helpful. But you definitely want to keep track. You want to look over your statements. And one of the things that I do is I take your statement and I do a reconciliation where I actually go into your software and I make sure that everything that's on the statement and in the bank is actually in the software as well, because there's oftentimes, you know, even with QuickBooks, with the big boys, they lose things or they double entry things. And, you know, that doesn't help when you're trying to do your taxes at the end of the year.
When we think about paying taxes, and most people file later, we don't think about it until we see the date approaching. How important is it to have someone, you know, keep books, keep records, and you don't have to have a large business, I'm assuming, to still establish some kind of track record and some kind of order in regards to your finances and knowing where everything is going? How important is it, whether it be small business, no business, that people literally keep a record, like literally keeping a record daily of their their expenses, things that they are spending? And now let me ask you this: is when you bookkeep, or when we think about bookkeeping, how important is it to have columns by which, you know, we have our bills, we pay our mortgage or our rent? And then, you know, I learned from an accountant, actually, the importance of setting aside funds for just entertainment. Mm-hmm. So help me understand that a little bit better, or share that with our listeners, because I think when we spend, we're just creatures of habits. We're spending without calculating or looking at where is this money going.
Exactly. Yes. This happens with, you know, personal and also with business. It happens often. I see it a lot. And I am a big proponent of budgets, which I know most people are like, oh, no, budgets are terrible, but they're not. And I call them a financial success roadmap instead.
Hold on, say that again for me.
A financial success roadmap.
Financial success roadmap.
It's less of a scary word, right?
Budget.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it's really important to know what's coming in and when, you know, especially in a business, because there are oftentimes, you know, peaks and valleys in, you know, how much money you're making and when. And if you know that ahead of time, if you can start to see a trend, which is what I help you with, see trends, okay, say maybe March and April are very slow for some reason, but we know that ahead of time, so that way that, you know, at the beginning of the year, January or February, we can pull aside funds to make sure that March and April used to have everything taken care of and you're not scrambling at that point. So budgets are very, very important, I feel.
When people hear budget, because, you know, for what I do for the station outside of being a host, sales and marketing, getting people to a place where they can understand the importance of promoting their business throughout, you know, not just through social media sites, because we know it's free, but radio is the cockroach that's been around forever, radio and television. And so when we think about promotions and you know, advertising different businesses, when I meet with business owners, the first question I ask them is, do you have a budget for your marketing, for your advertisement? And most of them do not. They don't. And you know, and we go into business and we see the business aspect of just opening the doors. I had a close friend of mine here this morning. He was one of my first interviews from Main Event, Andre Lewis, and he said, people don't understand what goes into having a business. You got to learn the business. and know what it is that you're doing outside of what people see in the front. There's some things that's got to be done in secret or behind the scene.
Exactly.
And sometimes, for us, I've learned, for me, if I don't do it well, I don't try to go over into that area. I just don't. I've learned to stay in my lane, my area of grace and anointing. And so for someone like you, or for those that are listening and following, how do we go about establishing bookkeeping? Getting someone on board, hiring someone like yourself, and what would be the first step?
Definitely, you want to try to find someone that you're going to trust, like we spoke about in the beginning. I find that people trust people they trust people with their children more than they trust them with their money. I have found, which is interesting,
Wow.
but very true.
Wow.
I've watched children, and I had an easier time finding people to watch their children than to take care of their money. It's just about trust, and you really have to know exactly what you're looking to do with your business. One of the main things that I ask when I'm speaking to a prospect is I ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What are your main goals in your business? Because those things then help me to make sure that I can get you there. And so once you start talking to that person and you start to feel a rapport with them, it doesn't always mean they're trustworthy, but it does help. I actually have a blog post on my website that is all about how to trust your bookkeeper, because unfortunately there are many, many unscrupulous bookkeepers out there. So I kind of made a list of things to look for when you are looking for a bookkeeper, as to things to steer away from, and what things you are trying to find.
I think that would be the overall concern. But just to hear you say that people trust you quicker with their children than they do with their money, that is a huge statement within itself. But when we consider looking for a bookkeeper, what are some of the things they should look out for? Some of what I tell people in especially in the arena of dating, date for where you're headed, not where you are. And I think when we consider bringing someone in as a bookkeeper, or someone that's going to help us keep a record, that is also a part of that process. It goes back to your statement, a budget being the roadmap to someone's success.
Exactly.
What should they look for in the interim of, hey, I'm scouting out a bookkeeper? Because I heard it on 91.1 The Boss, and I'm interested in knowing how to go about learning how to keep a better record of where my finances are going. What are some of the things that you would encourage our listeners to do first?
Well, they want to try to find someone who is going to return their phone calls. That is a big one. You don't want a bookkeeper who is not able to get in touch with you again. I mean, there's very rarely a bookkeeping emergency, but
Okay.
you also need to be able to have very constant communication with your bookkeeper. And you also want to find someone who has some experience as well, someone who's actually been in the industry for a while, to make sure that they're knowledgeable, because anybody can go get QuickBooks and take the YouTube online classes and stuff and think that they know how to be a bookkeeper. But there's more to it than that. It's knowing, exactly how it all works together and how to make everything come out the way that it's supposed to, how to interpret the reports and all of that kind of thing.
I have been saying that God is going to bring people that what I consider hidden gems, and bring them, and give them platforms such as this one. So you're that gem, because I know that you're starting out, and I tell people, despise not humble beginnings. That's what the word says. Despise not humble beginnings. And so it doesn't matter where you start. We talked about businesses that started in their homes, and the overall success of that business now. You being a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, the balance that comes with it, because I know you talk to me about, hey, I got to talk to you after certain hours, got to get everybody together. And that says that you know how to prioritize. So in doing so, and you may and will answer your phone call. So this is what I need you to do for me. I need you to give them some information so that when they call, that you will be the one to answer that call.
Okay. Well, you can contact me at 936-666-2143. And granted, I may not answer the phone immediately, but I will get back to you. I will get back to you within a couple of hours. I do have the children at home. It is summertime, so I prefer to have conversations when I don't have screaming going on in the background. So we have a quiet time at our house every day.
Okay.
And that's my time to be on the phone.
Okay, so the best way to get in contact with you is give that number again for us.
It's 936-666-2143.
Okay.
You can also get me through my email, which is info@blueskiesbk.com. And my website is also blueskiesbk.com.
Okay, you made mention of a podcast.
No, not a podcast.
What was it?
A blog post.
Blog post,
I have
okay.
a blog, yeah.
Okay, so they can actually follow along with all of the general information you've given, keep up with your blog, and learn a little bit more about hiring the right bookkeeper to handle their business.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you so much, Miss Ashley, for being a part of 91.1 The Boss on today's Entrepreneur. You did a wonderful job. I told you you would.
Thanks.
Thank you. You got to trust yourself like you're trusting others. You
Thank
all be
you.
blessed. Thank you so much for tuning in to 91.1 The Boss. I'm Orlando Daniels, and we thank you again for being a part. Get in touch with her.